morning and welcome to my studio, evening, whatever time it is where you are. Wanted to show you something that I just completed. I have decided that it is time to clean out all of the things that I have bought over the years that I intended to use for something because they were too pretty, and I just couldn't give up on the idea. This is just one of several videos that I'm going to do showing how I put this item that I had into use. This is going to become a collar on my doll, a pretty collar around the neck of her dress, and it is going to look like this, or I should say it looks like this when I'm done. And as I can't get my camera to work over by my sewing machine, I'm just going to demonstrate and explain how I did it. So the first thing that I did, let me get some more. There we go, a little more light. The first thing that I did, I took this doily and I made a decision on how I wanted the front to look. So basically, fold it in half, and I want the point, there to be a point in the center. So my line where I'm going to make the division is going to be here. So as you can see, when I fold that in half, the point is in the center. So keeping that in mind, and I stuck a couple pins in here just to remind me where center will be. On the back, that means I'm sewing through one of these lines, one of these points. I went to my sewing machine and I sewed down this seam that you see right here. I'm going to cover it up with this point so that you can see. I sewed a line straight into this section right here, and all the way up through here. I turned it around in the machine. I sewed back down again, and I had it on the tightest stitch that I could get. And then I moved over to the next section here, and I sewed back out again all the way to the end, and then did the same and came back into the middle again. Then I cut along this center area here. I took my adhesive, this is Fabri-Tac, and I applied it on the inside of the stitches. I don't know if you can, no, probably not going to get to see the stitches. I took on the inside of the seam, and you can hear how that edge is hard. I applied adhesive all the way down. Of course, it gets all over your fingers, but it makes sure that this will not unravel. Okay, and once that was done, I went into the machine and I came right up to about, there's a stitched line here and a stitched line there, and I sewed about a 1/4 inch from where that thicker line is, because I didn't want the collar to be too thick or too thin, but I sewed about a 1/4 inch from that seam right down the middle of that little section right there, and I sewed all the way around twice, and I sewed all the way around, except I stopped where I had already cut this seam open. I made that the end. I sewed over into this frame, I turned around, I sewed back, and then I came all the way around again until I got back to this side. I sewed down into the frame and I sewed back up again. And then I took this section and I slowly started cutting it, removing it. Now this may seem obvious to some people, but to me it was a learning experience. but I slowly started removing it, and as I went, even though I sewed it, I went ahead and I used the fabric glue and I glued this edge as well, so that this will have enough strength to hold up over the years without coming undone. So between the sewing and the glue, it's nice and sturdy. Originally I had gotten these because I wanted to put fabric stiffener on them and hang them up, but the project I was going to use them for, it wasn't stiff enough. I actually did it with one of them, and I had picked up like a dozen or so, thinking that whoa, what a great project that's going to be. But the fabric stiffeners that I used, and I tried 2 or 3 different ones, they just weren't rigid enough for this to sit independent and be the backing for an ornament. And they ended up being a little bit too big. Anyway, that aside, now I have a use for this one, and I'm going to end the video with a picture of the doll with this collar on. And I hope that was a fun project for you. I hope this helps you figure out what to do with something that maybe you've had sitting in a drawer and haven't been able to think of a use for, and it helps you in your doll making. Have a good day.